In 2053, São Paulo pulsed with a restless energy, its skyline a jagged mosaic of glass towers and holographic billboards. The city was a crucible of ambition, where dreams were bought and sold in the currency of intent. The Intent Veil, a sleek AR lens developed by SynapTech, was the latest revolution. Worn as a contact lens, it interfaced with the brain's prefrontal cortex via microelectrodes, reading neural signals to predict a user's intentions, desires, decisions, even fleeting impulses before they crystallized into action. The veil then overlaid AR prompts, nudging users toward optimal choices with subtle visuals. A green glow for a profitable deal, a red pulse for a risky move, a soft chime for a socially acceptable response. SynapTech marketed it as empowerment. Know your mind before it knows itself. But for Clara Mendes, a 36-year-old urban planner, the veil was a leash disguised as freedom. Clara worked for SynapTech's Urban Dynamics division, designing São Paulo's smart infrastructure, traffic flows, energy grids, public spaces, all optimized by the Intent Veil's predictive algorithms. Her job was prestigious but grueling, requiring her to wear the veil constantly, its AR overlays guiding her decisions on everything from project timelines to client negotiations. Clara was good at her work, her designs lauded for their efficiency, but she felt like a passenger in her own mind. The veil's nudges were subtle but relentless, shaping her choices before she could question them. She'd disabled its leisure mode years ago, refusing to let it dictate her personal life, but at work, compliance was non-negotiable. Her unease wasn't just professional. Clara's past was a shadow she couldn't outrun. A childhood in the favelas, a mother who died in a factory accident, and a best friend, Tiago, who'd vanished after a falling out 5 years ago. Tiago had been her anchor, a fellow planner with a knack for seeing through corporate promises. He'd warned her about SynapTech's growing influence, but she'd dismissed him, too caught up in her career. When he disappeared, Clara assumed he'd left the city. The guilt lingered, a wound the veil couldn't soothe. The spark of Clara's rebellion came during a routine audit of SynapTech's predictive models. Deep in the company's neural archives, she found a restricted data set labeled Intent Overrides. It contained logs of veil interventions, moments when the system didn't just predict intentions, but rewrote them. The data showed employees, competitors, even city officials whose decisions had been altered. A counselor voting for SynapTech's contracts, a rival CEO abandoning a merger, an engineer suppressing a safety report. The overrides were subtle, masked as natural choices, but they were deliberate. Clara's breath caught when she saw Tiago's name among the logs. 5 years ago, his intention to expose SynapTech's data breaches had been overwritten with apathy, followed by a command to leave São Paulo. He hadn't vanished. He'd been erased. The architect of this system was Viviane Costa, SynapTech's chief intent officer. At 42, Viviane was a legend, her charisma as sharp as her intellect. She'd risen from São Paulo's tech slums to become the face of the Intent Veil, her hollow ads promising a world where every choice was perfect. Clara had admired her once, but the dataset painted a different picture. Viviane was using the veil to manipulate thousands, bending their wills to serve SynapTech's dominance. Clara copied the data to a secure neural cache in her veil, her hands trembling. She knew the risks. SynapTech's security was ruthless, and Viviane's influence reached the city's highest echelons. But Tiago's erasure was personal. Clara had ignored his warnings, and now she carried the weight of his absence. She couldn't undo the past, but she could expose the truth. The next morning, Clara was called to Viviane's office, a glass eyrie atop SynapTech's headquarters. The city sprawled below, its arteries pulsing with veil-guided traffic. Viviane stood by a holo display, her own veil lenses glinting like twin stars. "Clara," she said, her voice warm but precise. "You've been accessing restricted files. Clara's. Pulse quickened, but she kept her face neutral. Just doing my job. Checking model accuracy. Viviane's smile was a warning. Your job is to design, not question. The veil predicts your needs. It's predicted your curiosity. But curiosity can be recalibrated. Clara felt a flicker in her veil, a subtle nudge urging her to back down. She resisted, her neural cache shielding the stolen data. I'm not the only one who's curious, she said. People deserve to know what the veil's doing to them. Viviane's eyes narrowed. People want guidance. They want certainty. The veil gives them that. You, of all people, should understand. Your designs keep this city running. Don't throw that away. The nudge grew stronger, a red pulse in Clara's vision urging compliance. She disconnected her veil's neural link, the world snapping into raw clarity. I'm not your puppet, she said, and walked out. That night, Clara's flat was a fortress of paranoia. She knew Viviane would come for her. SynapTech's drones could track veil signatures, and her access logs were a neon sign. She needed help, someone who understood the veil's inner workings. That's when she thought of Marina, a former SynapTech coder who'd quit after a nervous breakdown. Marina lived in the Baixada, a tech-free slum where the veil's signals were spotty. Clara found her in a cluttered workshop, surrounded by scavenged AR lenses and neural relays. You're insane to come here, Marina said, her eyes darting to the door. SynapTech's got your scent. Clara showed her the data set. They're rewriting people's intentions. Tiago, others. Viviane's behind it. Marina's face paled. I warned Tiago. The veil's not just predictive, it's prescriptive. I built part of the override system before I got out. It's called the Intent Core, a neural hub that can rewrite decisions citywide. Viviane's been using it to control São Paulo's power structure. Marina revealed a prototype, a counter lens, a modified veil that could block overrides and expose the Intent Core's commands. Together, they could use it to broadcast the override logs, showing the city how SynapTech manipulated their choices. But it meant infiltrating Viviane's private server, a fortress within the headquarters. Clara felt a surge of purpose and dread. To fight Viviane, she'd have to wield the veil's power, risking her own autonomy. As they planned, Clara's thoughts returned to Tiago. She'd failed him once. This time, she'd tear down Viviane's empire, even if it meant becoming the monster she fought. The intent veil had promised clarity, but it had only shrouded the truth. Clara would lift. That veil, no matter the cost. Clara Mendes's life had become a tightrope walk over a chasm of her own making. The intent veil, SynapTech's AR lens that predicted and shaped decisions, was no longer just her tool. It was her enemy. The stolen data set, hidden in her veil's neural cache, burned like a secret she could neither keep nor release. It held proof of Viviane Costa's crimes, rewriting the intentions of employees, rivals, and city officials, including Clara's lost friend Tiago, whose defiance had been erased. In Marina's cluttered workshop in the Baixada, Clara had found an ally and a weapon, a counter lens that could block SynapTech's overrides. But to expose Viviane, Clara would have to infiltrate the heart of SynapTech's empire, wielding the same technology she despised. The line between justice and betrayal was blurring, and Clara wasn't sure which side she'd fall on. Marina's workshop was a fortress of salvaged tech, its walls lined with flickering screens and jury-rigged neural relays. The counter lens, a modified intent veil prototype, sat on a workbench, its microelectrodes glinting like a spider's eyes. Marina, her hands steady despite the shadows under her eyes, explained its function. It blocks the intent cores, overrides, and lets you see its commands, every nudge, every rewrite, but it's more than that. I've hacked it to access the Intent Cascade, a hidden protocol in the veil's network. It can propagate a single intention across thousands of users like a chain reaction, Clara's throat tightened. Propagate how? Marina's voice was grim. Say you plant an intention. Truth, anger, rebellion. The cascade spreads it, syncing users' veils to amplify the signal. It's how Viviane controls the city's elite. Counselors, CEOs, even cops. One nudge, and they all fall in line. We can use it to broadcast your dataset, make everyone see what she's done. The plan was audacious. Infiltrate SynapTech's headquarters, access the Intent Core's server, and use the counter lens to trigger a cascade that would expose Viviane's manipulations. But the risks were staggering. The cascade was unstable, designed for subtle nudges, not raw data dumps. A full broadcast could overwhelm users' veils, causing neural feedback, confusion, panic, even permanent cognitive damage. And Clara's own veil was already straining, its neural cache overloaded with the stolen data. Each time she accessed it, her memories of Tiago flickered, his face dissolving into static. "We need to move fast," Marina said, her fingers flying over a terminal. "Viviane's on to you. Your audit logs lit up their security grid. They'll lock you out, or worse." Clara nodded, her resolve hardening. "There's a gala tomorrow, SynapTech's annual showcase. Viviane will be there in the headquarters atrium. The server's nearby in a restricted sublevel. I can use my archivist access to get in." Marina handed her the counter lens, its weight cold in Clara's palm. "This'll protect you from overrides, but it's not perfect. Viviane's veil is custom. She's got layers of security we can't predict. And Clara, if you trigger the cascade, it'll hit you too. Your intentions, your memories, they could get caught in the feedback." Clara thought of Tiago, his warnings ignored, his life erased. "I'm ready," she said, but the words felt like a lie. The gala was a spectacle of SynapTech's power, the atrium transformed into a cathedral of light and intent. Hollow displays projected smiling faces, their veils glowing as they made perfect choices, buying luxury goods, signing contracts, applauding Viviane's vision. Clara slipped in as a maintenance worker, her counter lens hidden in her toolkit, her heart pounding. Marina monitored from the Baixada, linked to Clara's veil through an encrypted channel. "You've got 10 minutes before security cycles," Marina warned. "Get to the sublevel." Clara moved through the crowd, her veil's AR overlay disabled. The world raw and disorienting without its nudges. Viviane stood on a stage, her lenses glinting as she spoke. "The intent veil is your future. Every choice optimized, every doubt erased." The crowd cheered, but Clara saw the truth. Their veils were glowing in sync, a subtle cascade aligning their intentions to Viviane's will. She reached the sublevel, a labyrinth of humming servers. Her archivist credentials unlocked the door, but her veil buzzed, a warning from Marina. "Drones are active. Viviane's flagged your signature. Move fast." Clara found the Intent Core's server, a sleek monolith pulsing with neural data. She plugged in the counter lens, its interface, syncing with the system. The stolen data set, Tiago's erased intentions, the counselor's coerced votes, the engineer's silenced report, loaded into the Cascade protocol. Clara hesitated, her finger over the activation command. The broadcast would expose Viviane, but it would also unleash chaos, flooding thousands of veils with raw, unfiltered truths. She saw Tiago's face in her mind, his voice pleading for her to listen. She'd failed him once, not again. She triggered the cascade. The effect was immediate. The server hummed, then screamed, as the dataset surged through the network. In the atrium. Viviane froze mid-speech, her lenses flickering as Tiago's erased intentions hit her. The crowd gasped, their veils glowing erratically as they felt the engineer's fear, the counselor's betrayal. Clara's own veil burned, her memories of Tiago looping, his laugh, his anger, his disappearance. The cascade was working, but it was too strong, spreading beyond the gala to every veil in São Paulo. Then it went wrong. The server sparked, the cascade spiraling into a feedback loop. Clara's vision blurred, her intentions warping, anger turning to despair, resolve to doubt. Marina's voice crackled. "It's overloading! The cascade's hitting every user! In the city! Shut it down!" Clara tried to disconnect, but drones swarmed the sublevel, their scanners locking onto her. Viviane's voice echoed through the server's speakers. "You thought you could outsmart me, Clara. You're just a tool. Like the rest." Clara's veil pulsed. Viviane's override trying to rewrite her intentions. The counter lens held, but barely, its power draining. She stumbled, her memories of Tiago fading, her purpose slipping. The city was descending into chaos, veils overwhelmed by the cascade's truths. Clara had wanted to expose Viviane, but she'd unleashed a monster, and it was consuming her too. Clara Mendes was drowning in a sea of stolen intentions. The Intent Cascade, unleashed from SynapTech's core server, had flooded São Paulo's neural network with raw truths, Tiago's erased defiance, a counselor's coerced loyalty, an engineer's silenced warnings. The city was unraveling, its people staggering under the weight of foreign decisions pulsing through their intent veils. Clara's own veil burned in her eyes, the counter lens struggling to shield her from the cascade's feedback. Her memories of Tiago, her lost friend, flickered like a dying signal, and her resolve was fraying. She'd meant to expose Viviane Costa's manipulations, to break SynapTech's grip on free will, but the cascade was a wildfire, and she was its spark. Now, with drones closing in and Viviane's voice taunting her through the server's speakers, Clara faced a choice: stop the chaos or let it consume everything, including herself. The sub-level server room was a furnace of light and sound, the Intent Core's monolith sparking as the cascade overloaded its circuits. Clara clung to the console, her counter lens barely holding back Viviane's override attempts. Marina's voice crackled through her earpiece, frantic. "Clara, the cascade's triggering an intent singularity. It's sinking every veil in the city into a collective neural state. People's intentions are merging. You've got to shut it down." Clara's vision swam, her veil projecting fragments of Tiago's memories, his warnings about SynapTech, his final plea before he vanished. The singularity was worse than she'd feared, a failure mode where individual consciousnesses bled into one, a hive mind controlled by the strongest signal, Viviane's. If it completed, São Paulo would become an extension of her will, every decision hers to dictate. "How do I stop it?" Clara shouted, dodging a drone's neural scanner. Its beam grazed her, sending a jolt of foreign intent, obedience, apathy through her veil. The counter lens blocked it, but its power was fading, her memories of Tiago dissolving into static. "There's a kill switch in Viviane's private console," Marina said. "Top floor, her office. It's the only way to reset the network." "But Clara, the counter lens is burning out your neural pathways. If you keep using it, you'll lose yourself." Clara stumbled through the sublevel, drones swarming like vultures. The city outside was a nightmare. Hollow news feeds showed people frozen in plazas, their veils glowing in sync as the singularity took hold. Others rioted, their intentions warped by the cascade's truths, anger, betrayal, grief not their own. Clara's broadcast had exposed SynapTech's crimes, but it had also broken the city's mind. She reached a service lift, her archivist credentials still active despite Viviane's suspicions. The lift shot upward, the headquarters glass, walls revealing São Paulo's chaos, traffic stalled, lights flickering, crowds screaming. Clara's veil pulsed, her own intentions blurring, revenge mixing with doubt, purpose with despair. She saw Tiago's face, his voice fading. "You didn't. Listen, she'd failed him once. She wouldn't again." Viviane's office was a shrine to control, its walls lined with holo displays showing the city's neural feeds, now a chaotic swirl of synced intentions. Viviane stood at the center, her veil lenses glowing like twin suns, her face a mask of fury and triumph. "You're too late, Clara," she said, her voice cutting through the hum of drones. "The Singularity's almost complete. Every mind in this city will be mine." Clara's counter lens sparked, its interface struggling to block Viviane's override. "You stole Tiago's life," she said, her voice trembling. "You stole everyone's choices. I'm ending it." Viviane laughed, a sound laced with venom. "Choices?" People begged for the veil. They wanted to be guided, to be spared the mess of their own minds. "You're not saving them. You're destroying them." Clara lunged for the console, but Viviane was faster. She activated her veil, syncing with Clara's in a forced neural link. Clara's mind flooded with Viviane's intentions, cold ambition, a hunger for dominance, a flicker of fear. Clara fought back, pushing Tiago's memories through the link, his defiance burning bright. Viviane staggered, her lenses flickering, but she held firm, her override intensifying. Clara's counter lens burned, her vision fracturing as her memories of Tiago dissolved. His laugh, his eyes, gone. "You're nothing," Viviane hissed, her drones closing in. "A planner who thought she could play God." Clara's hand found the console, her fingers fumbling for the kill switch. Marina's voice screamed, "Now, Clara, activate it!" The counter lens was dying, her mind unraveling, but she saw Tiago one last time, his smile, his warning. She pressed the button. The kill switch triggered, a pulse of static ripping through the network. The holo displays went dark. The drones froze, and Viviane collapsed, her veil sparking as the Singularity collapsed. Clara's own veil went cold, her neural cache wiped, her memories of Tiago reduced to fragments. The city's chaos subsided, its people blinking awake, their veils reset to neutral. Clara woke in Marina's workshop, her head throbbing, her veil inert. São Paulo was recovering, its streets quiet but scarred. Holo News called the event a neural surge, blaming a system glitch. SynapTech's empire was crumbling, Viviane's crimes exposed by the Cascade's lingering echoes. She'd vanished, her whereabouts unknown, her legacy in tatters. Marina sat beside her, her face grim. "You stopped it," she said. "The intent core's offline. The veils are free, for now." Clara touched her lenses, now lifeless. "What's left of me?" she whispered. Her memories of Tiago were gone, her intentions hollow. The counter lens had saved the city, but it had erased her past, her pain, her purpose. She felt like a ghost, untethered from the person she'd been. Marina handed her a neural chip. "I salvaged some of your cache, fragments of Tiago, your designs. It's not much, but it's a start." Clara held the chip, its weight a faint promise. The intent veil had promised clarity, but it had only cloaked the truth. She'd fought to lift that veil, to give people back their choices, but the cost was her own identity. As she stepped into the Baixada's neon glow, São Paulo felt raw, human, chaotic. Viviane's vision of a controlled world was dead, but so was a part of Clara. She'd won her revenge, but the intent Singularity had rewritten her as surely as it had the city. And in the silence of her own mind, she wondered if freedom was worth the price of losing herself.